Okay, so today we are changing the front brake pads on my 2005 Nissan Xterra. I'm also going to be painting the front calipers, but that'll be a separate video than this. So basically what you're going to need are the new brake pads. You're going to need a ratchet set. The caliper pins, they generally use a 14 millimeter, and a whole lot of brake cleaner and possibly WD-40. When I did the rear brakes, the caliper was a pain in the butt to get loose because it was so tight, and I went through about half a can of WD-40 just trying to loosen it up enough. I'm a rather small person, 5'2", no upper body strength, and it took me at least an hour to get the caliper loose. Now on the back brake pads, you could actually set the caliper on the frame. Here you're going to need to find something to prop up the caliper once you pull it off so it's not pulling on that cable there. So I'm going to go ahead, loosen up the bolts and everything, and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we've loosened the caliper pins because they are a pain in the butt to get off. I actually had my mom loosen them for me, and before y'all tease me for that, my mom's a badass, so it's not a big deal to me. We're going to go ahead, we're going to use the 14 millimeter, and we're going to get them all the way off. And if you actually get it loose enough, you can use your fingers to get the caliper pin the rest of the way off. Sometimes you're going to have a lot of grease in here that slows the progress. Now before you start doing this, you're going to want to find something to set your calipers on. You don't want them dangling by the brake cable. And unfortunately, there is no way to really set them on the frame behind the caliper. So I was fortunate enough to find a couple of boxes here that were tall enough to set these on without pulling on the brake cable. You definitely don't want to, this one in particular is an Xbox box. Thank you to my nephew Jared for letting me borrow that. And just cover it with a plastic bag so you don't get grease, dirt, and all that grimy brake cleaner and WD-40 all over it. Now sometimes these pins might be a little tough to get off even after you've loosened them, because of all the road grime that is actually in the threading of the bolts. This one is being particularly tough. And it feels like this one might even be a little stripped. It feels like it's spinning the caliper pin behind it, so you might want to hold on to that one. Make sure it's not spinning along with the ratchet so that it will actually come out. And watch your fingers that you don't end up pinching yourself. Get that box into place, and you can pull the caliper off. And remember not to yank on that brake cable. From here you can take out the brake pads. You don't really need any fancy tools. You might want to have a flathead screwdriver for that if it gives you any problems. But these aren't too big of a deal. As you can see, I might have had maybe 1,000 miles left on these. The grooves are flat. They're worn kind of funny. One side worse than the other. That can indicate that you need a wheel alignment. And the particular brakes that I got the Duralast Gold from AutoZone, and they actually come with a kit with the hardware in it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the hardware. And like I said, this part of the caliper, the bolt is extremely difficult to get off. You can go ahead and leave this here if you're just changing the brakes. If you're going to paint the calipers as well, you can use plastic bags around it, or you can remove this part as well and paint it separately. Before you do that, you're going to want to go ahead and do some heavy cleaning on those calipers. Okay, so we're getting ready to put the new brake pads in. I've gone ahead and removed all of the plastic bags that we used as drop cloths. I've put the new hardware in. That can get a little tricky. You need to go ahead and make sure that you get it in there right. You might want to slide it in a couple of different ways until you can get it to seat properly. Now, I went from semi-metallic brakes to ceramic brakes, and you can actually kind of see how bad the old ones have gotten. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the new ones in. We're going to slide it in sideways here in the new hardware. And once again, if you are like me and have zero upper body strength, you might want to have a hammer or a mallet and gently tap it in there. Now on the other side we have our, I call it a squealer, I don't know the technical name for it, but as your brakes wear down, this will push back against the caliper and will make noise, first in reverse, then forward, and this one is going to go upright in the back here, same way. Alright, now with the caliper, you're going to want to squeeze the caliper back so that it will actually fit over the brakes. I have a little tool here that I use. Picked it up for probably about less than 10 bucks at AutoZone. It can easily be done with C-clamps as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to slide this in here. And that's actually a little deep for this tool. We're going to loosen this all the way. We're going to take the old brake pad, put the old brake pad in here. And we're going to follow the curve of the tool. And we're going to use this to push the caliper back. Now you only have to do this once on the back caliper, but you got to do it twice on the front caliper because it's got two of the plunger looking things. Forgive my lack of technical terms. And once you've pushed that back enough, and we're getting our nice cool calipers all dirty already, but once you've pushed them back enough, and these aren't pushed back enough, then it should slide right over. bit more. There we go. You want to have your caliper pins so that you can get them back into place. Once your caliper's on there, you can remove your supports.
How you doing?
Doing good, Grandpa.
What,
Almost done.
Huh?
Almost done. And now that the caliper's on, it got a little dirty. Just tighten that with your 14mm socket and you're good to go.